15 minutes is Tom Edmonds talking about OpenAthens.
Thanks, Andy. Tom Edmonds, the OpenAthens product manager. For those I've been a fan for a couple of years, so I should be a reasonably familiar face to most of you. I was going to start with a couple of questions. Show of hands, but perhaps that's a bit tired. Just a shout out then. How many days till Christmas today? 49. You'll be ready. We'll skip some questions and run into some fun facts about Eduserv. We've grown quite considerably over the last 12 months, primarily in our internet services business, which does web hosting through our data centers and builds websites and cloud technologies, very much along some of the lines of the Eduserv symposium that was run last year. But we also have our license negotiation business. That's there's a standout side. That saved the academic community last year something like 30 odd million pounds in license costs for software and for subscriptions to content. So not an insignificant contribution to the community. In the Athens space, we've grown a little bit, and I'll come on to that in a short while. It's interesting to see the disparity of statistics in terms of, I think Mark showed 30% of the Federation outsourcing their IDP or SP. My calculations, it's closer to 55%. Statistics lie, or liars statitize, whatever the phrase is. I calculate that based on the number of active contributors to the Federation. So I look at how many organisations in the Federation are actually doing something in the identity and access management space, rather than just pure members. Because we talk to a lot of smaller colleges that just don't have the resources to do anything yet in the space. And in fact, we're talking with guys in the Federation about how we can perhaps push out to some of the very, very smaller ones, and perhaps some of those in the private sector, which we work with at the moment. So I think there's opportunities for those numbers to grow on both sides. About Eduserv and the OpenAthens business, a little refresher. We have the core managed directory service, which is our cloud IDP service, but we also have our Athens DA and OpenAthens LA products, and those are locally installed. Devolved authentication is the DA and the LA is local authentication. One has open in front of it and the other doesn't. And that stems from when the Federation decided to go its own way, and we felt that we had to build some SAML capability into our products. The OpenAthens LA product has a number of different modules. So it has the core Athens protocol, but it also supports SAML, and there are other smaller authentication protocols also available within that. But the Athens DA product is really a core Athens product. It works with SAML services by virtue of the gateway. We also have the Athens agent product and our OpenAthens service provider product for publishers or for web services. So we talk to organisations and institutions around the world and in the UK about how they might achieve single sign-on, integrating the IDP products with the OpenAthens SP products, and provide single sign-on across their enterprise to web services. Interestingly, we've always had an Athens Federation, but we now actively market the OpenAthens Federation as a product or a service, and that came about from a commercial organisation that approached us and said that they wanted to be part of the Athens Federation, and we realised that we had enough. Over 2,000 IDPs and SPs using the service, that there was value in us recognising that, so we now market the OpenAthens Federation. The core service, the hosted service that you see there is highly available. We work with a lot of healthcare organisations as well as academic institutions, so the availability of the service to us is absolutely paramount. We provide training for you, either your institution or if you can get a number of institutions nearby, we'll come and visit you and run training workshops on how to use for administrators and how to use our products and services. Access to an account manager. And we've been running for the last 12 or 18 months a series of webinars. Some have been more sales orientated, telling people about our products and services, and some certainly, I think they're almost once a month, if not once every 6 weeks, technical surgeries, which is a free-for-all for you to get online in a webinar environment and ask our developers or our David Orrell, our chief architect, ask questions about how to do things or how you integrate some of your products and services. We don't have any visibility. We ask in advance, send us the questions that you have so that we can make sure we field the right people. But essentially it's a free-for-all, just dial into those surgeries and ask questions. Our developers also have been on Shibboleth training, technical workshops, and are trained to implement Shibboleth. And of course, working very closely with SAML products, more than happy to answer any questions on those products where we can. So within the Identity and Access Management team, we recruited at the beginning of this year, earlier this year, a head of software development, and this is a gentleman, Mike Wire, who I think may be here today, but he sits above our development teams in the Identity and Access Management team, but also web services, which means that we can start to share some of the technical teams and their expertise. So as we move forward over the next 12 months or so, we'll start perhaps using developers that have .NET skills that we don't have in the core Athens development team, and those will come across. So that's a great advance for us to be able to see the whole of Eduserv's development team almost as one. And I believe it's been half term, I've been on holiday. I think in my absence we've appointed a new head of IAM development. Some of you may have known David Evans, who's presented at FAM before. David has moved on to pastures new in Cambridgeshire, and a replacement has recently been appointed for him. We have boosted our QA team by one. We've boosted the headcount on the service desk by one, and I know that's not enough. And perhaps I can ask for a show of hands. How many OpenAthens customers are here? Okay, so about a quarter to a third. We've struggled over the last 12 months in terms of keeping up with responding to customers. We've seen a huge amount of growth outside the UK, and that's impacted all customers. So please bear with us if you've had difficulties getting hold of the service desk, but we're also bringing on board new service desk staff, so that's tough. And in brackets, boosted our overseas sales teams, which of course is less relevant and interesting. In terms of what we've been doing on the products and services, we've over the last 15 months or so introduced more trending stats, an integrated proxy service into the OpenAthens LA, the locally authentication product. Rolled out the Federation, and that has been a phased rollout because there are a lot of touch points that we were almost unaware of because it was so embedded in what we do. The self-registration scheme, which allows organisations, if you have users, if you have a large organisation and you don't know where your users are, you don't have a single repository of students here, and you might have perhaps a campus overseas, students can register through that. That's been enhanced. The project Monteverdi that we've spoken about over the last 15 months, That proof of concept has come to a close, and we're going to start to see some of the improvements that we identified there and embed those into the core service. And there have been some minor enhancements on the managed directory service, plus an addition of IP authentication into the Athens service, which I'll talk about later in one of the streams. So our LA product, I'm afraid it's got graphs. So some trending stats there are very similar to Raptor. I don't know which one came first, chicken or egg, but you know, export the data and things like that. As indeed the integrated proxy module with a site feed on the far right-hand side of Proxy Resources, and it's a simple click and drag. Select your site, your proxy resource, drag it to the work area in the middle, and that sets up that resource. And of course you can then start gathering statistics about those proxy resources. That site feed is somewhere in the order of 200 or 300 different proxy resources at the moment. The OpenAthens Federation is SAML based now. Of course the Athens protocol is very much part of that, but it provides a dashboard for users and members, and if you're using an OpenAthens product, you'll be part of that federation to start managing your own profile within the federation. We do vetting of that in the first instance, but once that's done, you can start adding your own services if you want to. So our self-registration scheme allows us to roll these out far more quickly with a very simple to use builder, web-based designer that we will roll out for you. So you tell us what you want your registration scheme to look like, and then one of our consultants will go and build that overnight for you, or in the course of an hour. So we can develop that far more quickly. So Project Monteverdi was a proof of concept to see what sort of improvements we could make on the Athens service. The administration interface into our hosted service has been around for 15 years. Neil, you would know better than I do. 20 years? Something like that. And it's been a very organic development and growth of that service, and things have been added on along the way. And we want to be able to take the best bits of that and see what it is as librarians you want to be able to do. The best bits of Monteverdi in that project, and if you've seen demos of it, you'll start to see dropping into the service from about spring next year, and there'll be a 15 to probably 15 month to 2 year program to embed all of that good stuff into the service. So there's been a whole raft of minor enhancements to the managed directory service, including the last point there, IP authentication into Athens. If there is anything that you would like to see in the service, somebody came up to me this morning, we have far more control. We've built far more controls over the last 18 months in how we deal with feature requests from you, where if there's anything you'd like to see in the service that we're not doing at the moment, please come to me. I'll be around today, or drop me an email and drop me a note, and we'll bed that into the service over the next 18 months. And that's it from me. So I think the next thing is either questions or coffee. I suspect there'll be no questions.
Is Tom right? Has anyone got a question about OpenAthens?
Coffee.
Even why we sometimes use open and sometimes not? Which even